Hello, and welcome to episode 21 of Starside Chat. My name is Aaron. This is a post-Halloween episode, and my co-host is with me, Zach. Hello, Zach.
Hello. Is it spooky, or is that all gone?
Well, we should talk about this because we tried to record a spooky ep, but we were thwarted.
We tried recording this episode on Tuesday night, and some spooky things happened.
It actually was very scary.
Your power went out, like, we were almost 40 minutes in to the recording, and your power went out. Tell us what that was like. Well,
so you were having internet issues. We were talking on the phone, so you didn't realize my power had gone out because we were still communicating via phone, but it was a dark and stormy night, and we were talking, and there was like a flicker of black, like my light in my room like turned off for just a second. I was like, oh, that's weird. Well, we just kept doing it. Then like 30 seconds later, everything in my house shut down, and it was completely silent. And I'm like in like the heart of my house, so there's no like windows or anything. So I was in complete darkness, and I'm home alone, and I freaked out, and I was like, we have to stop. Something's going on. And then the power kicked back on, and I was like, okay, I think everything is all right. And I was walking around my house talking to you on the phone, and then like less than 5 minutes later, it cut to black again. And I was like, this is freaking me out. So I went to the front door, which has a window in it, and the street light out in front of my house was also off. So it was like a grid thing, I think. So we didn't record the rest of the podcast, and I sort of just like walked around my house nervously for a while, and then it went off again, and I was like, I have to get out of here. So I just went to Walmart and walked around for a while because it was the only place I was open because it was late at night.
Yeah.
But we could not finish the episode, and I couldn't. My recording was corrupted, so we have to. This is take 2 for us a couple days later.
Yeah, I was not sure if Audacity would be able to recover a project that was still being recorded as the power went out. So,
I tried, and there were some things because I had like a token error or something, and there might have been a way to do it, but I could not figure it out.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll happen this time. It's not raining at all, so my power should not go out. And boy, I hope it doesn't, because it was very scary.
Well, it turns out it's actually good for us to be able to record later in the week this week because a lot happened following what would have been our recording time. I guess we should start off. We'll get to some of the stuff that's happened more recently this week in a little bit, but let's start off with the PlayStation Classic Games list.
Yes. So I had a PlayStation back in the day. I don't know about you.
I did not.
Yeah, you didn't. People are mixed on the games they've announced. They announced a couple right when they announced the console, but now they're telling everybody what all 20 games are. And it's got some real classics. It's got like a 2D Grand Theft Auto. Final Fantasy VII is probably what will make a lot of people buy this. But also, what else? Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six is on there.
Yeah, so that's the only one that I really have any sort of like memory of because I played it a lot on N64 with my brother when we were young, and I had a lot of fun with it. But after this announcement came out, I like looked up some video and I was like, this has not aged well at all. I do not think I would enjoy playing this now. But that's kind of like the thing about this era. And I wonder how I'm going to feel about when Nintendo finally gets around to an N64 classic, because I did get a Super NES Classic because that was like, that era was sort of like the pinnacle of like 2D graphic games. Yeah. This is just sort of like an awkward time. Like, it's our childhood. So like I do have like nostalgia for it, but I don't know how much I'm going to want to actually go back and play any of these games.
Yeah. So Metal Gear Solid is also on there. Tekken 3, Twisted Metal, Wild Arms. Did I say Abe's Odyssey? Abe's Odyssey is also on there. But yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. We're hitting a point where it's all going to be polygons instead of bits or whatever. And I'll be interested to see, because I remember, man, I loved Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
And like GoldenEye. And, I think the thing that will make them not have aged well is the controller.
Yeah.
Because it was insane, because there was just one analog stick.
Well, and so that's the thing. Do you even think these like classic style consoles are even like the best like thing? Like, I get like you have the people who are nostalgic for it, and they just want this as like a collection piece for their like game room
Right.
or whatever. But like, I don't know about you, but I would much rather just have them as games that I could play on the Switch with like updated controls.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point.
Well,
This
what
is
they need
also
to do
like,
is capture what it felt like to play them, not what it actually was. If that makes sense.
see, that's the thing. If they come out with an N64 one, I would love for them to have some sort of controller that has 2 analog sticks, or like something that is better suited for like modern times.
Yeah.
If I could play
Well, even
like
like
Perfect Dark and GoldenEye with 2 analog sticks, that would be amazing.
yeah, I like even the GameCube controller that had like the C stick. I feel like
Yeah.
you could translate that into like the current Switch Pro controller, but anyway, back before we get too far off on like what we want out of these, like I did some reading up a little bit on the PlayStation Classic Collection, and yeah, a lot of people are very disappointed with the lineup of games, and like they're notably missing is like Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon,
Oh yeah.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, like pretty much.
Oh, Tony Hawk, man,
Yeah.
the first Tony Hawk game.
Well, and like RPGs as well. Like the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2 were like RPG machines. Like that's what they're known for. And there's
Yeah.
not very many on here, I don't think. Like there's Final Fantasy
Final Fantasy
7
VII is a big one.
Yeah, that's like the big deal, but there was a ton of them, and there's just not that many in this list. So it's kind of a weird list.
It's true. Well, anyway, do you think you're going to get one?
No, definitely not.
No, I don't think so either. But something I might partake of is that they're in the early stages of talking about a Legend of Zelda television series from the producer of the Castlevania animated series that is on Netflix right now, that is apparently critically acclaimed, but I have not watched it. I think it just got renewed for a 3rd season.
Yeah, I heard it. I've also heard the Castlevania series is very good, but I am way more interested in a Zelda series than I am a Castlevania series.
We were talking about this. There's a lot of question marks with this, and when we were recording this episode before it got lost, I asked you if you thought that Link was going to talk.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he has to. Like I was trying to liken this to like the Mario movie where he has to talk and he has a voice, but you really don't hear him say very much in the games. So it's just it's gonna feel a little bit weird to have him like talking a whole lot. But
well, there's like Paper Mario where he's like having dialogue with a bunch of people all the time.
Isn't that
and
just
like Mario
text,
RPG? What?
That's just text though. He's not like actually voiced, right?
That's true, but I don't think there is a Zelda game where there is text even for your character. People are always just talking at you, even if it's just written.
I'm sure there is one. Like I'm not too familiar with like the Warriors versions of like the Zelda games.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like those have to have like some of that dialogue where you have to just like click through a bunch of like walls of text basically.
They could go a lot of directions with this. We were talking about what it could be based on, because I mean, they could go crazy and base it on Majora's Mask, which would be it would be like a Groundhog's Day thing. They could do Wind Waker, where it's all about boats. Breath of the Wild is an obvious choice, or even Ocarina of Time. Actually, I guess Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time sort of have a past and present thing they could play with, sort of like Westworld, but or they could go for something wholly their own. There's a really complicated, convoluted timeline for Zelda, and they could just figure something else out.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of almost want them to do their own thing and just sort of like base it on like the sorts of things we've seen from other Zelda games, like, make it sort of, because if they were making a new game, they would do that, right? They would make their own story, but it would obviously, I guess, sort of still somehow fit with like the lore that's been established already. I feel like they could do that. Either that or like just go all in on like the Breath of the Wild story and just do that as a TV series, because that's the one that's like most recent. And I think it also brought a lot of people into the Zelda franchise.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that if, they wanted to go that direction.
Here's another question. Do you want Gorons and Zora to be CG or some form of costuming?
So we were talking about this. I'm not sure that it won't be animated.
That's a good point. Yeah, because he has the producer is known for the animated Castlevania.
Yeah, Castlevania is animated. The other stuff Nintendo's working on, like the Mario movie, is going to be animated. I feel like it makes the most sense to do this as an animated series.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But yeah, if they didn't, I mean, obviously they'd have to do like a, whatever Disney's doing with their like live action remakes of all the like classic Disney movies where they just like go, pay a lot of money to do high quality CGI work. They would have to do that for it, but.
It's interesting, and I'll be interested to see how far it progresses. This was literally, I think most of this was based on a tweet that the producer put out that was like, hey, I'm gonna do something, and everyone figured out it was about Zelda. But I don't know, if this actually comes to pass, I would be very interested, because Legend of Zelda is like, the more you dig with the lore of Zelda, the deeper it gets. Like, they have gone to great pains to retroactively connect every game in weird ways. So I would be interested to see if it actually slots into the known canon or what they do with it.
It's very interesting, and it is probably like the number 2 Nintendo franchise. Am I wrong in that? Like, you got Mario and then Zelda, as far as I know, right? Like,
well, they say Pokemon is the number one selling IP.
But I mean, they have millions of movies and TV shows at this point for that. Also, didn't that start as something separate that just happened to be on Nintendo, and now it's like they are like joined forces with Nintendo or whatever?
I'm not, because there is the Pokemon company, so you might be right about that. I'm not really sure. But anyway, moving along, Zach, when we recorded this before, we were going to report that the Fallout 76 beta was going to begin, but now that we're recording it now, it's begun, and Zach, you just got done playing it.
Well, so first I should point out that the night that we were going to record, that was supposed to be the first day of the PC and PS4 beta. Xbox had started, I think, the week before or something like that. And there was some problems with the PC launch where the Bethesda launcher, like if you opened it and like clicked anything inside the launcher, it would delete the beta that you downloaded, like the 47 gigabyte download that you did, and then you would have to re-download it. And this was happening to people. It happened to me like a good maybe 20 minutes before the thing was supposed to actually start. Like the servers were going to go online so that you could actually play the beta. And so obviously, like, I have terrible internet, but even people who don't have terrible internet, it would probably take them about as long to download it as it would for the beta to actually run. So like by the time they had finally gotten it downloaded, they were like shutting the servers off for the night. So it was a big fiasco. There was a whole lot of stuff on Twitter and everybody was talking and complaining about it. They extended the beta for tonight to last. I think it was originally only going to last like maybe 4 or 5 hours, but they sort of doubled it, I guess. I only ended up playing it for 4 hours, but I did have that problem where it won't like recognize the resolution of your monitor, so you have to like go into the files and actually like manually input the right screen resolution, which is a thing that basically happens if I use any other game service other than Steam. Steam is the only game service that actually, like, when I go into the game and I go into the like options, I can actually switch it to my monitor settings so that I'm like good to go. Every other, like, it doesn't matter if it's what is the EA one? Origin? Yeah, or any of the other ones. Basically, I always have to go track down some file somewhere and like go into the like notepad and like type in the actual like screen resolution so that it gets it. But anyway, that's beside the point. So I got it started up, and it actually played pretty well for me once I got the resolution sorted out. It looks about like you would expect Fallout 4 to look, although I think the lighting is a little bit better. Maybe some of the textures are a little bit better. I think the like frame rate is a little bit more steady on the PC version than I've seen on the console. I didn't actually play it on the console beta, but from what I've seen, that's pretty rough. And the PC one seems to be running quite a bit better as far as I can tell. I did run into some bugs, but otherwise, yeah, I don't know. If you enjoy Fallout, I feel like you'll enjoy this game. The only weird thing is that all the NPCs that you would normally go talk to are just like not in the game. Like there are some robots that you'll talk to, but basically you're going around and you're finding these. It's either like a written document where somebody like wrote a note that you just happen to find and you're sort of picking up the story that way, or you're getting like a holotape that you can listen to. And it's always like, oh, this and this happened. Now you need to go to this other location and track down another holotape to figure out the next part of the story. And so you're like, you always just missed them. Like you're on their tail. You're almost about to, you're like, surely the next place they're going to be there and I can talk to them. But you get there and you find another holotape. And
I hate that so much. That's like the number one thing that has turned me off of Fallout 76 is that there are no NPCs, because it seems like even if people are talking to you, you just know there's no way. It's like, I don't know, when you see the constraints of a game, suddenly all you see are the walls, you know?
Yeah, it is really weird. I don't know. I'm still enjoying the gameplay of it because it does still feel quite a bit like Fallout to me, and I really like the Fallout series. But yeah, it is a bummer that the story is so like poorly implemented. I kind of wonder why they couldn't, because this is supposed to be like a shared world looter shooter, sort of like, I don't want to say like Destiny, because it's like a very different style of game, but...
Which, by the way, like briefly on Destiny, we were talking about those leaks last episode about what Destiny 3 might be, and I read some more about that, and the source was, the anonymous source that may or may not be true, was saying that Destiny 3 is shaping up to be the game they wanted to release before they had the problems in Destiny 1, and they're leaning hard into the RPG elements, which was very interesting to me.
I am a huge fan of everything you just said. I really hope that that's true. I don't know, but like Destiny's only half for me, is because like it's so like made for the hardcore, the people who are gonna play.
The dream is a Destiny style looter shooter, a Fallout 76 that lives within a densely populated Fallout 4 type world where there are NPCs and stuff around to mess with.
Yeah, basically what I want is Skyrim, but you can play it with other people. Like other players can also be running around the world.
Yeah, or even like I forget who said this, but a while ago somebody said this, and I really agreed with it. I don't think the future, or like my ideal future, is not shared universes. My ideal future is like a Skyrim that is optionally co-op, where you can play it all by yourself, just like a regular Skyrim. But if your friend wants to drop into your world, then you both can be in that world. And it doesn't have to be like you're always playing together. You just always are both connecting to the same server, kind of like an Animal Crossing where you could leave each other notes or things. But basically a thing where two people inhabit the same world. Doesn't need to be like a shared universe thing, just like intimate relationships with like your friends, basically having your own Discord channel, but in a game.
Yeah, that sounds somewhat like maybe like a Borderlands, or what's another... I mean, I feel like there are games that have tried to do things similar to that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any off the top of my head necessarily, other than maybe like a Borderlands, where it is just like this open world game and you can kind of play it by yourself or you can play it in co-op. Yeah.
Maybe what's that EA game that's coming out?
Anthem?
I can't remember the name of. Anthem, yeah. Maybe Anthem will do that.
I feel like Anthem is going to be pretty close to that because it's going to have sort of the hub world where you're doing everything by yourself, and then the open world that you go explore and where all the missions take place, that stuff is co-op. And I feel like you'll probably be able to like run into random people and just like join together to do random things.
That's the other thing. I was watching the Game Informer stream of this, and you probably did not run into this because you were just playing solo. But one of the guys on the Game Informer playthrough was saying that he was in a group with like 4 people, and they're all doing the same mission. Or no, they weren't all doing the same mission. He was doing a mission, and they were all just messing around. So he was getting dialogue, but nobody else was getting the dialogue, even though they were in the same party. So he had to list, he had to like tell people to be quiet so he could actually do his story mission, which I think is somewhat bad design.
Yeah, especially since that's like the only way they go about delivering the story to you. As like you have to take the time to actually like pick up that note and read it, or you have to take the time to like listen to this thing. And yeah, it is kind of weird to like, normally in a Fallout game, you go like hack a console and like you'll read these entries or whatever. But now as you're doing that, you're like hearing this other player like bumbling around upstairs and like he's got his mic on too. So everything he hears is like echoing through his like, you know, near field communication or whatever.
Yeah. Gotta use headphones.
It's really kind of bizarre in that, but also like enemies can just like attack you. So even if you were trying to read up on the story, you might have to jump out of your little menu to deal with somebody who's attacking you, and then you can get back to it.
The fact that you can't pause when you look at your Pip-Boy is it's a problem.
I do wish they had like worked out some sort of like pause state so that if you hit a button to go into your Pip-Boy or just pause the game, you essentially just were like frozen and invincible for a while or whatever. Although I guess like you could get yourself into some bad situations that way where like as soon as you unpause, you're going to get like wrecked by like 90 ghouls or whatever. But I don't know. It's a tough... So I don't know what the solution is, but they could have done something better than what they did, I guess. But I mean, I don't know.
The way they're talking about it, it's going to be a living game. It could very well be like Destiny, where there are like massive changes 1 year in, and they fix a lot of the problems. But it remains to be seen how popular it is. But also, Zach, there was a 40-minute Smash Direct today.
Yeah, so I actually caught up with this a little bit, and I expected there to be more.
Yes.
Players, but I mean they did add 3 new ones?
Yeah, so earlier in the week there was a leak, or maybe it was last week, the Grinch leak as it was called, where they thought that they had a bead on 4 new characters. There was going to be Shadow the Hedgehog and Banjo-Kazooie were the 2 that people were very excited about, and so that was what everybody was expecting with this. And then the first thing they showed was a new Echo character, which is not a real new character, but it was a kin from Street Fighter. And then they showed a Fire-type Pokemon that was like a wrestler called Incinaroar, who all his moves are like very wrestling-based. He does a lot of like throws. And then Sakurai came on, and he talked... It was a 40-minute direct. So they finally talked about that Spirits thing, which is this weird... I still can't really wrap my head around this.
I still don't understand it.
Like different people from the games that the players are from. So like, for instance, Metal Gear Solid, like Kaz is just someone you can have, and it's like a sticker kind of, or it almost is like materia from Final Fantasy VII, where like you slot it in and you have like slots you can put these people in, and they change things like
they're glorified perk cards.
Yeah, they're like perk cards. That's a better way to say it. Where like something will give you like a super jump, or like something increases your damage, or things like that. Very weird. They're all collectible, and there's like mini games where you can feed them.
Isn't there also a little bit of like damage to them as well? Because they showed this like sort of Fire Emblem style where like one's defense, one's attack, and one's this other thing, and there's this like triangle of, you know, one's better than the other, and you know, sort of rock paper scissors style. You know,
I don't know, like. The entire time I was watching it, I was just like, this reminds me of mods in Destiny 2, where I would get a bunch of them and just be like, I don't understand this. I'm not going to deal with this system. I'm just going to, like, I have a bunch of them. That's great. But I'm not going to deal with, like, slotting them in. I don't want to know, like, what's better than what. Like, this is all meaningless garbage to me.
Yeah. I wondered how much of that was going to be just this overwhelming system that I have no intention of dealing with because I don't understand. Well, and that's the other thing is because this could easily be one of those systems where, like, if you're just playing casually by yourself or whatever, you might, deal with some of this. But if you want to, like, actually play competitively, whether it's, like, local with your friends or, like, you're playing online or whatever, like, everybody's going to, like, turn this off. They're going to be, like, the one rule to, like, joining these matches is going to be no spirits.
That's a very good point because, Smash is famously, there's a competitive scene. And it seems like these spirits add crazy variables to like play styles.
Yeah.
And I could see them very well being like all Smash tournaments, like 0 spirits. Turn that off. Like it's too crazy. Like if you have a bunch of spirits that increases your damage or like gives you like super speed or something, that's just like it's too much of an advantage. This is I also don't understand. I guess it adds replayability, and you can treat your spirits like pets almost. You can like play mini games with them, I think.
Yeah, it seems like you're leveling them up over time.
I don't know. They spent a lot of time on this, but more importantly is the thing they talked about next. They showed a cutscene for finally they reveal the single player part of this, the adventure part.
Yeah.
Yes, the World of Light, which was very crazy, and I teared up during one part. But it was a nice little cutscene.
It looks super cool to me.
It was very cool. They had lyrics to the Smash theme, which I liked. And it's all about, like, Glovey, or what are the Master Hand?
Yeah.
Like, pretty much everyone in the universe dies to this and becomes, like, a shadow version of themselves because their spirits are spirited away. Except for Kirby, who survives. And so Kirby, initially just Kirby, has to go around this world map and get people back, and then you're growing your roster and like bringing everybody back to life. But it seemed very interesting.
That's whoever you pick to play through it as.
Oh, you don't think it's always just Kirby?
No, I feel like you could play this through as every single character, and that's just like the one they're demoing or whatever.
Interesting.
Also,
I don't know.
By the way, this is like straight up the next Marvel movie. Yes.
How do you mean? Oh, do you mean because everyone disappears?
Yeah, everyone died except for like one of the originals, and then you have to go get them back.
Zach, let me put forth something to you.
Okay.
Avengers 4 starts, and it's everyone being very sad, and then out of the shadows, Kirby appears.
What?
Wouldn't that be the most insane
or
crossover?
Mario? Just Mario walks in?
If a live-action Mario walks into Avengers 4, I will buy that movie 1,000 times.
I mean, I would too, for sure.
Oh my god, that's amazing. Anyway, they talked about that for a long time, and that seemed super interesting. And then finally, they were like, even though earlier they were like, guess what? We've revealed all the characters. Don't get your hopes up. After the fact, they were like, well, we're going to have some DLC, paid DLC. Every pack is going to have a player,
a new character, a new map.
A battle arena, a map, and then some like
multiple
music.
songs for that map or whatever. Yeah.
So they announced like a season pass, and then also they were like, and if you pre-order or maybe just buy Smash, you get this new character, and it was the Piranha Plant from Mario, and it actually seems like a kind of crazy character.
Yeah, like. They had to show how it worked. They couldn't just say we're adding Piranha Plant. They had to literally show how that was gonna like actually work as a Smash character, and it does. It looks kind of cool. Like it looks great
because it has crazy range at parts, and it also has like a bomb. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it could be pretty cool. But yeah, that one's not coming for a while. I was confused as to how it was going to work because it's not going to be there at launch. I think it was like you have to buy the game within like a certain launch window, and then you'll like have access to this character. But if you like wait and don't get it right away, then you'll have to eventually buy the Piranha Plant character. It was confusing to me. I wasn't sure how it was going to work or even when you would be able to play as that character.
Mm-hmm. Overall, an interesting direct. You're gonna buy Smash, I assume?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, me too. Briefly, our last news item. I just saw this before we started recording. Goku is going to be in the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade. A big balloon of him
For the first time ever. Yeah, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? That it's like I feel like still people aren't really talking about Dragon Ball Z.
Well,
but,
I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Super done? Are they done with Super?
I don't know. I think like a while ago I heard like Super's over. There's the final episode of Super has aired. But I mean, it's just now the dubs are still happening on Toonami and stuff, I think. So I don't know. I guess would you say Dragon Ball Z is the thing that most Americans know about when they think about anime?
Probably. Like the most
I think
ubiquitous anime the world over.
It was on when we were all in high school,
Yeah.
and people are always like, "Oh yeah, anime." That's like where guys are always yelling and powering up, and that makes me think like, oh, whenever someone thinks of anime, they think of Dragon Ball Z. It has a saturation, but I didn't realize it had this saturation.
I like the subheadline from Polygon that says he'll need over 9,000 liters of helium. But yeah, it is like probably the most well-known anime, at least in America, I would assume. I don't know
because like I feel like Naruto has a crazy fan base. I remember when we did like a thing called Ragbri, which is like a bike thing. Not important. But anyway, the point of the story is that I was stationed outside of a hotel that an anime convention was happening in for 12 hours one day. And I would say 80% of the cosplays I saw walking into that Hilton or whatever it is were ninjas.
Well, okay, so I take it back. The most well-known anime in the West is Pokemon, and then
That's a good point.
probably either Naruto or Dragon Ball.
Yeah. But this is great, though. I have for a while been thinking I need to start watching Super. I know you did, and the people on the Game Informer podcast also are like always talking it up how great it is. And I just need to bite the bullet. There's just, it's one of those things where it's so intimidating because there's so many episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I never finished it because my Crunchyroll subscription ran out. But if I picked up my subscription again, which I would like to do at some point, I would definitely go back to watching it again because I was really enjoying it. So, I mean, I'd recommend it. It's a good show. It reminds me sort of my childhood. It also reminds me a little bit of college because, like, I had never finished the Boo saga. And when I got to college, one of my friends that lived on the same floor as me had the entire series on, like, DVD. So I started watching it again, just borrowing his DVD copies. And then, like, it became this thing where like my door was always open, and so I would be watching Dragon Ball and people would just like stop in and watch like an episode or two and then like head out again, and then more people would show up, and so it was just this like thing for a while where we just like marathon Dragon Ball Z.
I think we should get into it. Let's talk Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, the big story, because it came out last week. It is about a week then, right?
Yeah, I started playing around like 1 a.m. last Thursday, so it's been almost exactly a week.
Yeah, and in that time, how much time have you put in?
I have not had a lot of.
Or at least how far are you?
I'm like, I just got into chapter 2, and I just got the ledger. And I'm just like kind of traveling around. So I'm still in chapter 2. What about you?
I have made it into chapter 3, so I'm a little bit further than you. I also have made an effort to put off the main storyline. Like the main story missions all show up as yellow markers on your map, and so I know to like not do those, and I just look for any of the white ones. Because I feel like the white ones will disappear after a while. Like that, it's kind of a thing, right? In Rockstar games where there are like time ones where if you...
Yeah, it's sort of like a right place, right time type thing.
Yeah, well, so there are those, but there are also the ones that'll like hang out on your map for a while. But if you like push the story too far forward, you like lose the chance to go do that one, and it just like disappears. So I'm always afraid that I'm going to miss out on something. So I try to like go clear the entire map as much as possible. But also, the game has so many different things to do. Like you can go hunting. You can hunt like the legendary animals. You can try to upgrade all the different things in like your camp, or go like hunt enough like perfect skins or whatever and sell them to the trapper to like make these crazy outfits that he sells. Yeah,
there's so many things to do.
There is so much to do that it's very easy to get distracted. Even just like most of the time I'll set a marker. I'm like, okay, I want to go do this. And so I'll start writing, and eventually like some other like little white dot will pop up on my mini map because it's like this thing that pops up spontaneously. It's like an encounter or whatever. And so I'll go deal with that for a while, or maybe I'll like find this abandoned house and I'll go check that out, and something interesting will happen while I'm there. You know?
Yes, like the amount of tableaus you run across is just, it's so dense.
It is.
Like so many things are waiting for you to, it's like Skyrim kind of, where like even 2 or 3 years after the game came out, people were like, have you guys like been up north? There are just like a bunch of boats underwater, and I don't think they have anything to do with the mission. They're just there, you know? People are just discovering stuff.
Yeah, people are gonna be discovering random new things in this game for a long time, because it's a very big map, but it's also very dense.
Yes. So, Zach, I have 2 complaints about this game.
Uh-oh, what's wrong?
Oh, I mean, I'm very positive on it, and I'm going to play it a ton more. I just haven't had time. I'm just, like, itching every day. Like, I wonder if I can get back and finish my work and start playing it enough. But, number 1, I thought my main complaint was going to be no fast travel. But honestly, I don't mind that because, number 1, everything is beautiful, and I love the random encounters on the road.
Yeah.
And number 2, if you start galloping and do the cinematic camera, you can just keep galloping, and it will if you set a waypoint, it'll take you to that waypoint. So it's a nice little break if you need to just like look at your phone for a while, or just like go to the bathroom. You can just like set your waypoint. No one's gonna accost you or like come up to you during cinematic camera time. And barring some bug that I have seen bugs where people are in cinematic camera and their horse just face plants into a train. But barring that, it's like a nice implementation of kind of a slow fast travel. Anyway, my 2 complaints are: there is a donkey in the game, but I cannot make it my main horse or stable it at all.
I was going to ask you if you were able to actually go get one.
No, I found that donkey, and it's adorable, and it's small, and it has long ears, and I would love, even though it's slow, I would love to make it my main horse.
I was going to say, I know that you like them because they're small and funny, and you would like just enjoy how hilarious it would be.
Yes.
But like, to me, I want whatever's fastest, especially since like fast travel is kind of not that great a thing in this game, and you do end up spending most of your time on horseback. I just want whatever the fastest horse is that I can possibly find.
I mean, that's a good point. Anyway, number 2, the game is very, very, very interactive, and that is good. It's a very complex game, but because it is so complex, the controls need to be complex, such that you can interact with that thing, that paradigm shift I was talking about last episode, where holding the left trigger brings up this contextual menu and you can interact with everything in the game, is great, but also you need to be very precise. I told a story in the last episode. A man just like came up. I was walking in the wilderness, and a man rode up on a horse, fell off the horse, and was like, oh, I need a doctor. So I took him to a doctor in a really nice town, and the doctor was like, yeah, we got to amputate. And I stuck around and I watched him amputate the arm. It was crazy. Anyway, that was great. But then I walked outside and I wanted to I think I wanted to groom my horse or pet it or maybe just get on it. But when I held left trigger, unbeknownst to me,
You were locked onto someone else?
I locked onto someone else, an old lady, and I pressed the button and I just started choking her out. And I was like, oh my God, I have to stop doing this. So normally on most PlayStation games, pressing circle is the cancel button. I press circle, that is bound to beat. So I just started punching her in the face, which made it worse. And I was like, oh my God. So I threw her away from me, got on my horse, and I had a bounty, and I just had to get out of there. But like, so many instances, I'm so worried because on Twitter, I've seen a bunch of people being like, oh my God, I just wanted to like pet this dog, but I didn't know I had my gun out. So when I like tried to pet it, I shot it in the face. You know, like, you have all these options, but you need to know the systems. And I think the more time I spend with it, the more comfortable I'll be with the controls, and it'll become just like second nature to me. But for the first, I would say probably the first 20 hours, you're going to have some misclicks.
I've definitely had some as well.
Yeah, have you had instances of that?
Yeah, I've had times where I'm just like trying to like talk to somebody, or like I was trying to do something. I don't even remember what I was trying to do, but I accidentally ended up choking them. I was like, I'm like surrounded by people. This is gonna definitely get me a bounty. And like for the first like couple hours, you do like money is kind of hard to come by, at least in large quantities. So like I ended up with a bounty of over $250 like really early in the game just by accident. And like it's super easy to like just be riding your horse around and then like run into somebody and then suddenly you have like a big bounty. Or like early on I would like talk to people and people would be very rude to me. And so I would use the antagonize button because I was like, oh, so this is the nice response, this is the mean response. But that always makes it escalate into like a firefight. And every time you do that, you're going to get a bounty. And so you need to like be ready to not use the antagonize button that much because it will like come to blows and you're going to get in trouble for it. But you also need to like use your mask. So like go into your little contextual menu.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing, like you were saying, like maybe only Rockstar can get away with making a game that's just like so dense in its controls and systems that it's just like it is kind of cumbersome to like, you know, you have to know when you want to talk to somebody or deal with your horse, they're like the left trigger like opens up one set of menus, and then the left bumper or L1 button will open up a completely different set of menus. And you have to like, you know, if you want to use something from your inventory, you have to hold on the left directional button or the right directional button. Like it's all these very different things, and so you have to kind of master all the different ways of input there are. But also just like when it comes to shooting mechanics, and definitely like the hand-to-hand like fist fighting.
Yeah, I find the hand-to-hand combat very hard to parse because I don't know the tells yet. I don't know if there are tells, but I try to block when I'm supposed to block, and I try to punch when I'm supposed to punch, and I think I'm doing it wrong because I always like survive every fight with just an inch of health left because I wasn't blocking and punching at the right times. Like, I feel like it should be a system I can master, but I don't know.
It is very clumsy, and yeah, like we're used to games like Destiny or something like that where the shooting is very tight and it feels very good and everything's pretty intuitive. But then you have this game where it's like they help you out with like auto aim, which I feel like this game would be a disaster if it didn't have that.
Oh, for sure.
And it does kind of make you feel a little bit like a gunslinger to be able to like, you know, just like quickly tap your aim button and have it like snap to a target. But it also feels a little bit like cheating as well. But I guess I do use my, what is the like slow time down or whatever?
Deadeye?
Yeah. I find myself using that not even just to like lock on to an enemy or like, you know, set points where I want to shoot them. I'll just like activate it and then aim and pull off a headshot because that's the only way that I can find to have a consistent shooting experience with the controls the way they are.
You know, something else. Have you replayed a mission? Because I notice every time I complete a mission, it says like, hold this button for mission details. And I'll see I got like a bronze sometimes in the mission, and I'll tab over and it says like, yeah, if you want a gold, you need to complete this task within like 2 minutes and you need to kill this many people. Like, have you dug into that at all? Are you trying to get gold in all the missions?
I haven't yet. I wonder if that's a thing where you can go into your menu and like specifically select a mission and be like, I want to do this one over again.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I've seen that and I've thought about it, but I haven't actually tried it yet. Although I will say the other day I was playing and it wasn't one of the main story missions. It was one of the white ones that pops up.
Right.
And so I started doing that, and I was like, it was one of the members of our camp. We needed to go like mess some people up, and they like might have a treasure map or whatever that we wanted them to give us. And so we were gonna go, take them all out, and then once we got them down to like the one last guy, we were gonna like question him and interrogate him and beat him up a little bit and make him give up the information. I accidentally killed all of them. And he was like all mad. He was like, man, now we can't do it. You were supposed to leave one of them alive. And I was like, whoa, give me that little thing that pops up so that I can retry this mission. But because it wasn't one of the main story missions, it just never popped up. So I didn't get to redo it. And so that mission is now just sort of a fail, I guess.
I'm loving it, and we should definitely talk more about it. I'm sure we'll have, because I feel like I have not even scratched the surface of this game. I have just barely. It took me a while to even figure out how to get the ledger in.
Yeah, so have you done much
camp.
at the camp? Because I know you were asking about it, and a general tip is to like not necessarily, at least in the early going, don't sell like the random stuff that you pick up, like the pocket watches and the jewelry and all of that. And just go back to your camp and just donate all of that stuff to your camp funds so that you can buy upgrades in the ledger. And another thing that I have found, I said this on our Lost podcast as well, that I feel like the camp is sort of akin to like the hub area in like a BioWare game, like the Normandy and Mass Effect, where you generally want to go back there and stop and actually go talk to people after every mission, because they will have like random things to say to you. And especially in a game like this where it is so like story driven and all the characters like have some sort of significance, you kind of want to like have those experiences with them and sort of get to know them. So I would definitely encourage you to go interact with all the people in your camp, and they pretty much will always have different things to say to you as well, especially if you're talking to them after you've completed different main story missions. So do that.
Also, speaking of Mass Effect and BioWare games, the Paragon Renegade system in this, we were talking about in the Lost Ep. I was very worried because I'm trying to go full Paragon, but every once in a while something would happen where I think I'm doing the right thing. For instance, there was a cage on a carriage that had a woman in it, and she was like, I'm innocent. What are you doing? And so I was like, oh, I should kill her jailers and let her out. But I killed her jailers, and I got 2 Renegade points. And then I let her free, and I only got 1 Paragon point. And I was like, I'm 1 behind now. But you brought up a very good tip, which is whenever you go into a town, just mass greet everyone that you see, and you'll just get a ton of Paragon. And so I've started doing that, and now I'm less worried that I'm kind of, when I accidentally do bad, I feel less bad about it.
Yeah, so the 2 things I always do, because every time I'm just out and about, I always end up racking up a bunch of like Renegade points, because pretty much like if you kill someone, even if they're like a bad guy, if you go loot them, sometimes you'll still get like negative karma for it. Or like if
it seems arbitrary. Like I was doing a mission where a guy owned a pig farm, and he was a bad guy, and we had a duel, and I killed him, and I was like, okay, everything on this pig farm is up for grabs.
Right.
I'm going to skin all these pigs because I need food for my camp. Every time I skinned a pig, I got a Renegade point, and I don't know why. I guess it's because I'm killing an innocent animal.
Well, but like, he's not going to need them anymore, right?
No, they're going to die in that. No one's going to feed them,
Yeah, so it would seem like it shouldn't matter, but you still get Renegade points for them, so it's very easy to get a lot of them. And I kind of want to like role play this character as sort of like right down the middle, where he's kind of like he does bad things when he needs to, but he's kind of like good at heart, so he'll still like do good things as well, because that's kind of the impression I've got of him through just like the cutscenes and just the different things I've heard him say to other people. Like, I feel like that's the kind of character he is, so that's kind of how I want to play him. And like, it is really easy to get like negative or Renegade points. And so yeah, the best way to sort of counteract that is to just like, anytime you're in a town, or even when you're just out riding your horse, like every time you pass somebody, just like bring up that contextual menu and hit the square button, which is the greet. So just greet everyone you see, and like every 2 or 3 times you greet a new person, you'll get like a little bump. You'll get like a plus to your Paragon points. And then the other thing to do is, if you're following my advice of always going back to your camp, I think every new day you can run chores around the camp where you can like take a bale of hay over to the horses. You can actually do that twice, and then or like carry a bag of seed over to Pearson the cook, or like refill some water or something like that, or chop some wood. So go do those things, because you'll get like, I think it's +5. Like you get a larger percentage for doing stuff like that. And that will help to offset some of the bad things that you end up doing in the game. So that would
Zach,
be my advice.
I heard something about the game.
What?
I heard there are 4 possible endings, and the amount of Paragon or Renegade you have is something that is a factor in that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So is this going to change my, like, trying to play them right down the middle?
I don't know. I mean, if that's what you want to do, I mean, I don't know what the 4. Obviously, there's probably going to be decisions you're making, like right there, that defect. Like, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of. There's that thing that happens every once in a while where someone is like, "Well, what do you want to do, Arthur?" And then it cuts to like a shot of you with like the cutscene bars. And it's like, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? Like, it kind of takes you out of the game and you're making a moral decision. I'm sure that's going to happen a lot, and like the stakes are going to be way higher. So that is also going to be a factor. But for some reason, I think the morality is also going to play in. I'm not really sure how, but it's something that, I mean, I was already going to go full Paragon. I always go full Paragon in every game just because that's how I like to play. But definitely in this one, there's extra incentive. I mean, it's not going to be like Mass Effect where you can make any decisions, and then at the end of it, it's just like, which of these 3 colors do you want? You know?
What?
But so it's going to matter.
Yeah. Well, and so, that makes me nervous a little bit. Makes me, maybe I need to change some of the ways I'm going about things, but
I don't know. I mean, you're only in chapter 3,
yeah.
So I assume there's tons. I mean, they're saying it's like a 65-hour campaign, so
right.
I would not be. There's definitely time to change your playstyle if you want, and I'm sure it's going to be like most games where they telegraph the point of no return very
I'm sure.
clearly, so you know, like if you want to go and just do a bunch of stuff and affect things before you end it, you totally can.
Hopefully, yeah. Have you like had any crazy like random things happen? Like, I was riding along a beach once, and there was like, you know how when there's like a dead body or like a dead animal lying somewhere, there's like a black X on the minimap?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I saw a black X there, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go loot this body. And it like wasn't even a marker of any sort. It was just like a dead body laying there. So I went over to go loot him, and when I was looting him, he like grabbed me and like was choking. He was like, he was dying or whatever. And so he was like, oh, I thought you were already dead or whatever. And so he like handed me this note or whatever that I was supposed to like deliver to somebody, and it just like became this little like mini story.
That's very cool. Probably the 2 craziest things I talked about, that man falling off his horse, and then I went to a doctor, and the doctor was like, hey man, you should get out of here. I'm going to amputate this limb. And I just stuck around, and I watched him cut this guy's arm off, and then he was like, oh, that was terrible. And then he like put it in a trash can. That was crazy. Also, I may have done this wrong, but I was riding around, and there was like a old little hillbilly boy, and he was just chucking rocks into a river, and he was like, oh man, Miss Jezebel, oh man. And so I went up to him and I was like, hey man, do you need something? Or what's going on? You seem down. He was like, I just want to be left alone. And I couldn't interact with him after that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just take off. I don't know if I was supposed to try to interact with him more or what.
Like if you just wait there long enough?
I don't know. Maybe I'm going to run into him again and I'll be like, hey, are you still doing not all right? Or I don't know. That was really interesting to me as well, because I don't know if I didn't do that correctly, or if that's just like a long story that plays out over multiple interactions.
Yeah, they're good about having a lot of those, which are always very interesting. Did you run into the guy who had been bitten by a snake?
Yes, and I just gave him elixir. I did not suck it out.
Really? Because I did suck it out. And
What happened?
later, he is like hanging out in Valentine. And as you pass by, he's like, hey, friend, you saved my life. Thanks so much. Go into that gun shop there and buy anything on me.
I bet I can do that too. I haven't gone back to Valentine since I saved him. You know, something else that did happen. I was in Valentine and a man was just like, hey, I'm a veteran. Do you want to be my friend?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, totally. And he's like, hug me. And I was like, okay. And then I hugged him, and then I just got some Paragon points.
Yeah, I've ran into him multiple times, and I always do the Paragon option with him, but nothing has come of it yet.
They say this is a thing that happened in The Witcher, where like small side quests are just like bloom into larger narratives. And I think that is what is happening here, where like these seemingly random encounters just progress into bigger stories. And I think that's a very interesting and cool way. It makes you feel like you're discovering it, but you're being led by your hand, just like you're not seeing it.
Well, and that's what makes me always want to stop and interact with any of the like white little blips that pop up on the minimap. Like anytime I hear like somebody shouting off in the distance or like a gunshot, and if I ride a little closer, there's like a little white blip. I'm like, okay, I need to interact with this because it might go somewhere interesting.
Oh my God, that was another thing that happened. I heard gunshots and I was like, what's going on over there? And it was this man. He was like, hey man, I'm such a good shot. Do you want to like shoot these bottles with me and see who's a better shot? And it's only like 30 cents. Give me 30 cents and maybe you'll make some more money. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So I get my gun out, and I accidentally aim right at him. And he was like, what are you doing? And then he shot me and killed me.
Really? He killed you?
Yeah, and so then I respawned, and he was gone.
I bet he shows up again later.
I'm sure he does, but it was very jarring because I was like, oh, I'll get my gun out. And the act of getting my gun out automatically snapped right to his face. And he was like, what is this? I didn't mean for us to shoot each other.
Yeah, so I had that interaction, but I just shot the bottles like you're supposed to, and it was fine.
That's the other thing. I still have not fully grasped how the high noon dueling mechanic works.
Yeah.
Because it says like slowly press R2 to get more time or something, but
yeah.
I always die the first time.
I don't know if I think you're supposed to just tap it a bunch of times, but I have had trouble with that as well because you don't use it very often, and so when you do use it, you're like, okay, I don't even know what's happening right now, and it's all like I'm running out of time, so it's very stressful, and then I mess it up, so it doesn't even matter.
And I wish it would pop you back to right when you were about to do it, but then you have to do the interaction again.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could talk about this for another hour, but we should probably wrap up right now. We'll talk about it more in the next podcast, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will, yeah. But in the meantime, why don't you let us know what you thought of Red Dead Redemption 2, or if you're playing the Fallout 76 beta, let us know what you thought about that, and follow us on Twitter at Starside Cafe, or send us an email at starsidecafe@gmail.com, and we may just talk about it on the show.
We will.
All right, what parting wisdom do you have for us?
Zach, I'm very into thin crust pizzas right now, and I realized that the Domino's that is in my town has a drive-up window, so I can order Domino's on my app and then just pull up to a window, never get out of my car, and have a fresh, hot, extra crispy, thin pizza within 15 minutes.
That sounds pretty good. I do like thin crust.
That's not really wisdom, but it's something that's very big in my life right now.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.